Sometimes you gotta force yourself into a corner where you have no choice but to act. Like a cornered animal, here I am once again, Artist Journal, January 5th, 2025. Broadcasting somewhere after the bloodstream, past the cells, is that mitochondria. Welcome back, my name's Adrian Pocobelli. What is this, day 4? So, I don't think I want to get in the habit of listing the days, because I just kind of want this to become a habit. But nevertheless, I guess compared to where we were, it's almost a kind of a celebration of sorts for me, in the sense of this continued return. I'm invoking the spirit of when I started this show. So welcome back once again. Kazu Hero Ehara. Kazu Hero Ehara. Edition of 6 on Object. And we're going to see on a couple of shows ago, someone left a comment saying, thank you, and I need to fix a couple of things here. Thank you for showing all this great digital art and the Object website. And I was so happy to see that because it made me realize, really, that a lot of people are not necessarily aware of what we're doing here. And it worked. For those that noticed that little detail here. So, what is this that we're looking at? I see energy, actually. It's kind of funny, like I'll look at these works and I'll give it a passing glance, and then live on the show, I'll start looking and I'll start seeing the work for the first time in a sense. So you can see here, the word energy, beautifully, how shall we call it, kind of like letters made of mark making, these mark made letters, shall we say. A beautiful, interesting mask here going on, an inherently digital work by this artist. Not sure exactly what's going on there. Is this a head of sorts? Is that a mouth? Is that a tongue? Is that a cigar that's smoking? I don't even know. And maybe it doesn't matter. And you know how I was talking about just a couple of days ago, painting within the lines? Maybe that was last show. And how a lot of digital art kind of paints within the lines. And so part of the delight, can we zoom in? No, this is a video, so we can't zoom in. Part of the delight, really, of, say, someone like Kazu Hero Ehara's work, I think out of Japan, if I'm not mistaken, and there's something to be said here. I've talked about, about Japan. I mean, I've talked about Argentina in the past. There's Argentinians on this show, like, I think every episode. I've talked about Turkey, both crypto countries, so to speak, or countries that have adopted crypto, hence, showing how the economic reality can oftentimes determine things like the poetry, interestingly, there's something to be said for these awesome, I'm really excited by, it's awesome what's coming out of Japan here. So just another country that really is representing in force. And so let's see if we have energy charger. We have an umbrella. We have some pixelation here on the right. We have what looks like probably digital mark making, right? And then we have some wonderfully painted outside of the lines as if, coming out of traditional painting here. This is like kind of classic kind of, it's, to bring it to a reference everybody would know, it'd be like Warhol sort of, putting some brushwork of like the face, let's say, and then you just screen print over it. Doesn't matter if it registers. There's poetry in the contrast and of really painting and drawing outside the lines, coloring outside the lines is kind of what we're getting at here. So here you see it's a little more, but not perfectly. And so this gives it a painterly feel, gives it that looseness, that, that randomness also that kind of characterizes to a large degree modern image making. Right? Because, again, you go back to your 19th century pre-impressionist, academic, pre-Raphaelite, again, this kind of academic work. It's pretty within the lines, and not only is it within the lines, there's volume and all this kind of I don't know if I'd call it realism, but this verisimilitude, like this illusion of space and this concern for the illusion of volume and space, that is not the concern here. Here, we're kind of back to, again, I say, it's almost like the doodle style a little bit. We could see hints if we're, what did they call Basquiat? Something expressionism, neo-expressionism, I think is what they called him. One of the ways that you can kind of categorize Jean-Michel Basquiat's work, because I think I think it's this sort of stuff that people were getting at here. So all very interesting. I have to say just finally on this, I love the obscurity and the strangeness of this. I love the color changes. There is, energy in this work. And I love the weirdness of, this word that goes half in the background, half over top. The word shares this kind of coloring outside the lines, if you can see, it gets colored outside just for the word, and it almost unifies the word energy here. That looks like a 3D thing or some sort of masking. It almost unifies it with this shape, this weird, what I'm calling a head, but maybe something else. With the umbrella over top. And is this rain? Right? So, and then here, and this kind of almost fading out pencil or black marker, whatever you want to call it, contrasting with these pixels here. So just interesting as ever. Let's bring up Kazu Hero's page really quickly. This is an edition of 6. Aw Heck picking one up. 39 Tezos. Shout out to Aw Heck. So here is the work. So we've looked at, what was this cloud? Remember the cloud? That was epic. Let's just look at this, because we've probably missed quite a few of Kazu Hero's work. So you see how radical this work is. It looks like a couple of flowers. So again, I'm kind of back to this digital art avant-garde. Little 4 leaves BASTARD. We'll keep it family friendly this morning. So one sold. Again, what would these go for is, I think Kazu Hero actually has sold some of these works as one of ones. Yeah, OMG Blog. I think I even remember who got it. OMG Blog got this for a mere $66. This wonderful work of art here, for those that haven't seen. That was way back October 29th, so we're starting again with Kazu Hero Ehara, a huge talent, on the Tezos blockchain. Big shout out and thank you. So I made this work yesterday. Here it is, and on Bitcoin, and you won't see it as super crisp because I'm magnifying it, but you can kind of see. I should have actually brought up, next time I'll bring up like crisp versions of this. Actually, I think I have it on X. But anyway, so I did this work here, part of a nostalgia study series, a series I've worked on actually for over 10 years. And I found my kind of Bitcoin version of this series celebrating, video games from the 80s. This is Lode Runner. Some people, of course, recognize this is Lode Runner level 1, but also, Ultima 4, of course. I have works celebrating really you might call it accidental poetry of these video games, right? And it could have something to do with nostalgia as well. Like it's kind of a blurry line sometimes between nostalgia, the satisfaction that nostalgia brings, and aesthetic, kind of purely formal art poetry, right? And that aesthetic satisfaction that comes from poetry. Right? Where does nostalgia stop? And that, sometimes it seems like they're overlapping, and maybe that's what that series is about. And it's interesting for me. It's almost like this well that I can keep coming to. Like I have series that I work on for years, and I do different iterations because they're just kind of rich kind of places for me to, rethink and reconsider and, re-examine certain images that just have a powerful impact on me, such as the Lode Runner. I should show the original. Maybe we'll do that very quickly, just so people have a clue. Sold out within, let's see if it shows up here. Is there a movie? That can't be a movie. Yeah, so it's kind of like, it was something like this. It may have even been this screenshot. Open image in new tab, and you see how small they are. Yeah, so there's something like, especially for those who have played this game, I don't know what's going on here. Maybe this is when you win the level. So that looks like a secret ladder, doesn't it? Anyways, so it's based on that, and there is the work, and yeah, here it's crisp at this size. So of course, putting it at the minimum size you can on Bitcoin, and it's sold within 10 minutes. I put it for 001. Which is $97 and sold within like 9 minutes, actually. So that was super exciting. Big shout out to the collector. They reached out to me. Interestingly, because I didn't know who it was, again, you see just like this anonymous address. They reached out to me and they said, "Oh, I didn't know you made work on Bitcoin." And so I do. It's been the focus. I don't really advertise it too much. It's the first one I ever listed. But here is the work on Bitcoin for those that are curious. So yeah, so I'm kind of grouping things together. And big shout out to Luke 500, the awesome Luke 500, who is helping me group these things together. But let me show you. And I am going to do a video on how to mint. This was actually a practice for me to go, okay, I should do a video on how to inscribe work on Bitcoin. People are curious, and the fees are really low. Like I did this, like they were at 1. Look, you see 1, like, so I paid for a 10 kilobyte file. I paid $10. That's a really good deal. And you see here, there's a few blocks, but also, there's one, it's probably going to go to 2 and 1 again today. So this is rare. So this is for those that are interested. I will put out a video. Maybe it's next weekend, hopefully sooner. Maybe I do that as just a special one-off sort of thing. We'll figure it out, but I'm on it. That's why I minted there. And I was also, so anyways, thank you to the collector. Super rad. Just looking at comments here, last episode. So yeah, putting out an episode yesterday, Avant-Garde Pixel Art. I was surprised I hadn't titled video that yet. Absurdity. Good evening, Adrian. Loving the new combination of more frequent but shorter episodes. And I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's actually a lot funner. It's really, that's how I started this, which is just cobble some stuff together and go. And it's kind of just as well. Sometimes it's better because you know what? If there's less tabs, I can kind of go into articles more, which sometimes is fun, depending on the situation. So I'm glad you're enjoying it as well. I'm hoping it is working well for you as well. Absolutely. And actually, Absurdity is going to be on the Spaces late January. And please do take what you're doing to another level. Yes, I am on it. I'm excited by what's happening here. Regarding your preference to own physicals of only clothes and technology, I 100% agree. The last thing I want is another object to care for. I think this is actually, I guess you'd call it in financial terminology, a secular trend. I think this is a trend. It's almost like this obsession with owning a house. And hey, I'd love to own a house, and I have nothing against that, and that would be fabulous. But that being said, we've seen culturally where, like, I joke with people, the purpose of life in the West is to buy a house, and that's kind of true, right? You get the job so you can buy the house, so you can, have the family and everything. But it's almost like the house is like the main goal here. I say somewhat half jokingly. But everything's cyclical. And couldn't you imagine just like 100 years from now, where everything's getting digital and they just go like those poor suckers back in 2020, obsessed with buying houses. Like they're like, it's like us looking at medieval times. Like, couldn't you just imagine that? So the fact that you also have a similar sentiment, Absurdity, I find quite interesting. Let's continue. The last thing I want is another object to care for. Yeah, I'm totally with you. That being said, after reviewing the incredible no-frame framing of Koni Maya or Hermipe Pixel Art's That Game, I had to admit that there are some things about physical art that cannot be experienced in digital-only format. And truer words were never spoken. Indeed. Exactly. Like, in a sense, digital art will not replace physical art. It is its own domain. Like they're truly different mediums, and they're radically different mediums. And I think that's why actually, what often gets called trad art is so slow to kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together, because it's almost like, it's not like iterations towards, it's almost like a leap is taken. It's almost like that Peter Thiel idea, 0 to 1. It's like a 0 to 1 moment from like physical to digital art, like, or at least, and maybe it just even has its own tradition, you know, like it's so radically different. All to say, I totally agree with you. And I'm even tempted, even though I say to myself, whoa, you know, first of all, do you need to spend the money? And second of all, do you really want to carry this around, Adrian? But if you have a house already and you're kind of settled, I mean, I probably would be doing the same thing. Let's continue. So I couldn't resist grabbing the last remaining edition. Good work. I'm glad someone from the community got it. And you were right about Hermipe's art being affordable. This beautiful work of art will be delivered to my home in Los Angeles all the way from Japan for less than US $200. I mean, these days, that's practically shipping. You're basically paying for shipping, right? And look, it's even got three-dimensionality here. Like, this isn't even like a piece of paper. This is like a work, so to speak. You know, this isn't a work on paper. So to speak. Super interesting. Do we have other images? I think that's it. So, super interesting comment from Absurd Deity. Let's see, we had a couple of others here. Pedro Jose, just in time for my coffee break. Well, coffee cheers, my friend. I love that. Oh, heck. I'd rather have the Ai Weiwei, thanks. We're comparing to Hermipe and Ai Weiwei. But the fact that it's even a debate, and I'm not sure where I would, like, I mean, maybe my financial pragmatism might say, oh, I should get the Ai Weiwei because I can resell it or whatever. But again, forgetting everything, you know, then I'd probably, you know, we'd have to look at the specific works. We're talking in generalities here, but, you know, it's the fact that it's even a discussion, I think is super interesting for an artist that's selling for $200. And we're all kind of art people, so it's not like we're never have like thought about these things before and are coming with no clue. So it's interesting, isn't it? That's even a, you know, a conversation. I thought, oh, I should do a poll. Then I was like, no, that's in terrible taste to do a poll of one artist against another. So anyways, thanks for the comment. Also, Joshua Sobel, a great show as always. Will we get 4 in a row? That is the plan. As long as this show doesn't get short-circuited somehow, so this is the plan. You're a legend. So grateful for your perspective and continued dedication to the program. Thank you for the fine words. As I said, your encouragement is like watering a plant, my friend. So thank you for the comments. Luke 500, what a great way to navigate through the weekend. Cheers. And big shout out to Luke 500, helping me kind of index the ordinals a bit. Very cool dude, Luke 500. Mehdi Jaladat, thank you for the comment. And Zozo, great selection. Really enjoyed it. Great to hear from such a kind of avant-garde artist such as Zozo. Yeah, that was an interesting kind of cobbling it together of art, wasn't it? So thank you for the comment. Also on YouTube, we got a comment, I believe, Louis. So good to have you back, Poco Sensei. And a delirious trifecta of journals to savor, pick at, breeze through. I thought I should mention I pretty much always discover one new work from a known creator or new that I instantly go and collect while watching your show. Your efforts validate and elevate us all, and your iconic cultivated stream of consciousness style is a treat. So yeah, thanks and all the best for 25. So it's nice to be appreciated, isn't it? And so who could ask for a better community than this? I mean, it's nice to put out work and people enjoy it. I mean, as a artist, you know, artists at the end of the day, I think, are just entertainers to it, you know, poetic, sophisticated entertainment, to quote Ballard. You know, and so, you know, if you can entertain, like, that makes me happy. If you're happy, I'm happy, if you're enjoying the show. Thanks for the comment. And there was another great comment. I mentioned it at the start of the show here, but I wanted to highlight it because this is interesting. Davey Do Stuff. Wow, thank you for opening my eyes to digital art and the object site. So, one person at a time, Davey. One person at a time. Like, to me, if every show it's like one person kind of discovers what we're up to over here, that's not bad. So thrilled that you're enjoying what you see here. Continuing on. Thank you, everybody. Grand Egyptian Museum. So GEM, with 12 galleries now open, recontextualizes ancient Egyptian history. So I believe this is in KIRO. After over a decade of development, the Grand Egyptian Museum has opened its doors partially. This looks like quite a spectacular museum. This is the entrance here. Apparently that's Ramses. These galleries in chronological and thematic order feature a selection of the collection's 15,000 artifacts as the museum fine-tunes its operations ahead of what is hopefully its grand opening. So this was announced back in 2002 and heralded as a symbol of Egypt's future as part of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's Egypt Vision 2030. So in case you need a reminder of what we're doing over here as kind of cultural, surgeons, so to speak, or cultural creators, maybe to use more regular term. If you're wondering about the importance of what is going on potentially, this is how important, in a sense, culture is, to state the obvious. A large portion of which involves a major redevelopment of the Giza Plateau, where GEM and the famous pyramids of Giza is located. I need to go to Egypt, and this has kind of put me one step closer. So yeah. I don't know if there's too much to say here, other than I just wanted to highlight that a major Egyptian museum is opening in Egypt. They're greeted by the 3,000-year-old statue of Ramses the Great, the legendary ruler of Egypt's 19th dynasty. Shout out to Mom. We were watching lectures about Ramses II in Saskatoon over the holidays, the Great Courses. And actually, I think I'm going to put a Great Courses affiliate link is what I need to put here. Because wouldn't it be great to turn this into a business, as I've been saying for probably over a year. So let's just see if we see any other images here. Yeah, so you see, there's something to be said for new museums. For those that are looking for a great one, the Parthenon in Athens is newer, and it's just, you see the soft light? They can be really, really pleasant places to be. I highly recommend the Parthenon Museum in Athens. And there, and I didn't go too far into this, but it is interesting if there's so much Egyptian art in the British Museum. I'm sure that's a bone of contention. Just like the Nefertiti here in Berlin at the Neue Galerie or Neue Musee, whatever it's called, the famous statue of Akhenaten's wife, Nefertiti. That is also here, and that is a bone of contention. We've actually seen articles on this before. I thought this was interesting. When was this from? January 2025, Art Forum. So Lynn Hirschman Leeson, who I hadn't heard of, artist and filmmaker, but has work in the Museum of Modern Art, Tate Modern, the great resume here. And what I thought was interesting, it was the top 10 shows. Look at what was number 1. Harold Cohen at the Whitney Museum of American Art talking about AI and everything. And look at how beautifully colored this is. That was the highlight, I would say, as well as those other video game screen works at the Electric Dreams exhibition at Tate Modern that I went to with RJ only a month ago. That was about a month ago to the day. That was awesome. So here's Harold Cohen again. Beautiful colors. I think hand-colored oftentimes. So kind of combining, machines, early AI adopter, and then it just goes into what you'd call more traditional, trad art, contemporary art shows. But I thought it was quite interesting to see what was at the beginning of them. You see where the you see where the visual energy is, I would argue. I almost think we have a show. We had that Siena medieval show, right? That was at the Met, and I think it's going to London, so I've been told. Right, of the Sienese Revolution. We have the Cimabue show in Paris. I think, and you see this at the start. You know what all of these shows share? It's what does Harold Cohen share with Cimabue and the Sienese painters? It shares an appreciation of color, of composition. I think after, and I don't want to pick on anyone here, but after, contemporary art has kind of it's almost like it was cliche to be, it was too obvious to try and make something pretty. Oh, you're making it cute, and isn't that quaint? They're trying to make pretty art, beautiful art, but but then time passes, and what do people return to? At the end of the day, art is, I would argue, I mean, art is many things, and people make it for different reasons, but I'd say the largest thing is beauty, right? So I think that's what's going on here. I think there's kind of a return to the source. I've been seeing weird little kind of signals on YouTube in completely unrelated areas. I was telling Roon Toon over messaging, I think culture is about to turn inside out. I think we're approaching a really radical change in the culture in terms of like aesthetics and everything. Like I think, and it's going to actually, I suspect, go to smaller creators like us over here, what we're doing over here. I think the whole corporate sort of thing is starting to falter. Because I put out a show, like they put out a show, I put out a podcast, they put out a podcast. It starts to be like, how much fancier is it over there? And so it's just getting interesting. Let's continue. We got to keep these short, and we're doing well on that, so let's keep it up. Luke 500. It's undeniable that the secondary on Rodeo is really fun and relevant. I'm getting tempted to put in my little 5x offers on works I've missed. I've got Jack Butcher's Proof edition of 272 for a 10x. 1000x offers are common, while the latest OpenSea sale was 1.337 ETH, which is like what, like $500? Not bad. And so this is quite something. So then Luke gives us some stats. But how's the platform doing? Almost 1 million mints for almost 80,000 posts. Hate to do this, but it means an average of 12 editions collected or sold per each post. Almost 50 ETH creator revenue in the first and last 6 months, meaning an average of $22 per artist. Almost 19 ETH distributed among collectors, meaning an average of $3 per collector, or 21,000 collectors. Over $31,000 of revenue last month, December 2024, up 300% from the previous month. Time will tell if there's room for growth. And I think I saw somewhere, like, look at January. January's already at $10,000 of revenue, and you see what December did, but we're at like January. This is probably January 4th. I think this was posted yesterday. So, like, this could get explosive, actually, the use here. So, now things come and go in the crypto space. So, let's see. I mean, remember Warpcast or like the Twitter? It's still around. I actually went on it, actually. I was actually surprised, and thank you everybody who tagged me on there. I didn't realize people were still going on it. So, but all to say, so let's see how it does. It is doing quite well. Sabato. Rodeo is like Percocet, a fun, well-designed product that's easy to consume and in limited doses can be good for artists during a moment of pain. But too much of it will leave you dependent and constipated. So, and die with the most likes, last Rodeo 1000x. So it's especially if you've worked really hard to kind of get your market worth a lot of money for each edition, and then all of a sudden Rodeo comes. So full disclosure, I collect on Rodeo, so we can't read all this, and mint random stuff. It's got UI UX down to a fun, frictionless vibe. It seems like it's having a moment now that everyone is mad at Zora. But ultimately, this is a social media vertical with gamified elements. So this looks really interesting. For artists, the economics are much less kind than for the collectors. One can pay a bill with $1 per free mint, but it's much harder on 15 cents per mint. The vast majority of us don't have the social graph to generate 1,000 mints per post without bots or very generous friends. Yeah, so it's all going to be, because the vision, in a sense, like if you have millions of people on the platform, but I don't see a ton, it'll be interesting to see if, is there going to be mainstream adoption? And I guess my concern is it seems like a very crypto product. Now, crypto is getting pretty mainstream. But when you start doing I think the 5x, 10x appealed to the crypto space, but I'm not sure it's, as I was kind of hinting at yesterday, I'm not sure this is going to start appealing to people outside of the crypto space who already have this kind of, perception of crypto as being this kind of overly money-oriented kind of situation. Let's continue. JPEGs.fun. So we've been following JPEGs.fun here. It was supposed to launch yesterday. Launch postponed. We experienced some technical issues during deployment. During deployment, our NFT contracts were botted and a portion of Chaos by Maker NFTs were minted. However, we disabled the mint function for the contracts so that NFTs cannot be minted. We will announce a new launch date soon. So they were botted, I guess. So watch that. Watch this space. I will keep you updated on JPEGs. 6529, I have bought NFTs from 500 artists, most of them basically unknown to the feed. Yet people are always concerned that I am somehow missing the important ones. Some people never ever tell me which ones they are. Why not? Can someone explain this phenomenon? So as Nicholas Dietrich pointed out here, feel free to watch the show. You will find all sorts of wonderful artists that are not in what I would call, what I loosely call the mainstream kind of Ethereum narrative. You just saw Kazu Hero, Ihara. Among many, many more. So thank you, Nicholas Dietrich, for the comment. Let's continue. Manidal. I updated the logo for the Cat Runner mobile game, Not a Number, and I are working on. So they are working on a video game. We'll try using this design for testing first. This is a great idea, by the way. We've agreed to sell the game in both the phone version on Google Play and the PC version on Steam. So this is pretty exciting, actually. Please stay tuned for our game. And, like you see it here, it almost looks like a Mario Brothers type thing with cats. There's a mushroom. I like where this is going. And look at, you see Manidal's dexterity here. This is pretty good looking. Again, the color is outstanding here. So very cool. I mentioned this. We don't have time. It's a 3-minute video. But for those that want to find it, Andrew Carr, I recorded my screen. It took less than 10 minutes to go from text to 3D printed object. So remember I was talking about GLBs? I brainstormed where you can make them from AI now. I brainstormed with Gemini, so the Google AI, used Imagen 3.0 to create the image, used Trellis to turn it into a GLB, translated that into an STL and printed it with my wife's Bamboo Labs printer. I've been dreaming about this, which is a 3D printer, I believe. I've been dreaming about this for years, being able to create things from pure thought. We're getting closer, indeed. That is, that really is actually, what these AI models really seem to offer, which is I can design a website now from plain language, right? I don't need to be a coder. At least give it to a point where I can give it to the coder and it's like 90% there, 50% there, whatever you want to call it, and the coder takes it from there. And as you see here, goes through the entire process. It's a 3-minute and 15-second video, but at the end, what you're going to see from pure thought, there it is. That is pretty amazing. Ed Marola, drawing study, RJ inspired landscapes. So RJ is putting out some beautiful landscapes, and so Ed has put out a beautiful watercolor here. I think it's watercolor and maybe, is that oil stick? A drawing study. Very nice. And here's Denise Sanchez, brush practices. So practicing here in shot. I wonder if that is kind of like a GoPro, I'm assuming. Maybe you put that on your glasses or something. Very cool. Nice shot. And continuing on, here's Andre Oliveira Cebola, who we saw collaborate with Francoise Gamma the other day. And are we doing just checking the time? We're good. Actually, I need to go pretty soon, though. Back to work on my low-budget sci-fi physicals. So very, very, very interesting and cool. I wonder if you can export out of that. That's some nice rendition there on the screen. As we move into the works, here's Myth Inside, Pixel Brush on Procreate by The Myth, 114 minted, so maybe $20. I mean, this is a work that would probably get like 150 at least on Object, so it is interesting. What a poetic work. With the blue sky and the eyes, The Myth Inside. I love this work. It was a head-turning work. I'm not sure if we looked at this yesterday, but I really didn't want to miss it. Degen Myth. I think we did, but in case we didn't, I'm pretty sure we did. But here is another, almost like a hallmark back to Warpcast, if I'm the social media from earlier in the year. And nice move here, the yellow on the violet, complementary colors, the beautiful, almost Joker-like purple suit, and even kind of a lightly purple sky. Loved the vibe. Myth's got a lot of humor coming in on this latest round of works. Uxine, another artist not unfamiliar with humor. This was kind of cool. A shark, it's almost like the water looking from, the bottom of the water, and you see these skeletons rowing, and then almost this Damien Hirst kind of cut up shark with little bit of what looks like the canvas, the Photoshop canvas. A lot of subtlety. The color on this is outstanding. Even in the flash, like we can probably see that. There's orange, there's blue, and it really gives a cool impact here. Wonderful job. High Seas. Love it. This is another brilliant work by Uxine, just posted on X. And you see this, like it's all these different renditions, and then you use the GIF to unify it. So all these different frames. So it kind of like, I think this is really interesting, particularly in the painterly conversation where you have this looseness, but playing with different kinds of looseness. And in a sense, when you do it this fast, in a sense, no one frame, like I guess we can do this. No one frame needs to be perfect, even though these are pretty cool. But you see like, okay, this is pretty loose, right? But look at that, right? But when you put it all together, it actually, what do they call it in philosophy? It emerges. It emerges. Something emerges here. From all of the components, we get a synthesis, so to speak. Something emerges out of the components. Beautiful work here, getting a nice reception for Uxine. Scrape. So here is his DrupalWaffle, and of course we've been seeing this AI, is it Ongo? AI kind of art review guy in the timeline. So here, DrupalWaffle is bringing him in to the image. Look at how beautiful this is. So Waffle's creativity never ceases to delight, doesn't it? And just making it look so easy. And there is the art review. I think it's that AI art reviewer. And then lifting some weight, some bones across. So who knows what's going on? RJ. So RJ is, this is Starving Artist Mobile Edition in-game painting level 1. So RJ putting out some work on Rodeo, doing really well, 338 mints. So kind of looks like maybe a bit of influence from Waffles here, and playing Brothers is the name of the work, and so doing fabulous. I mean, it's probably 60, 70 bucks. So nice work, and putting out a whole bunch of work here. There's something beautiful. Like, I'm doing it with this show. Prolificness is a wonderful thing because, if RJ only put out 2 works a year, and then puts out these works, it might be like, I wonder what RJ's doing. But RJ puts out like 9 works. Like, it's probably all done in an afternoon, brings home like some nice money, is experimenting, is minting, it's 30 cents a thing, So this is the beauty of being prolific, is it's like, well, if RJ again put out 2 works a year, you'd wonder, but it's like, no, RJ put out 9 works yesterday, right? That's impressive all of a sudden. So Prolificness is interesting. Makes 157 bucks. I think more at this point, but let's call it 157. Artie. Now this is under AI art. Some final cuts. So let's take a look here. So is this AI? I think this is AI pixel art because from a distance it doesn't look like AI. Artie Hands putting out some AI pixel art, I believe. How is it doing? 172. So very good. Deviate 001. Still available for another 3 hours. Very cool. Here is Zeesus Batas. Thursday, I think Ghost is the name. And there's Ongo. Ongo all over the place here. Okay, and here we see what looks like a tree, just another surreal kind of image. Kind of looks like outdoors, got some stars, but also other things, just more beautiful, mysterious painting from Zeesus Batas. Here is Tego Dago, aka Edmarola, and a beautiful work here on Rodeo. As you see, the sampled brush and having some fun here. Nice big work. So looks like definitely in the spirit of the other ones, the Pixel Crayon Study. Let me see. So a couple of works available here. Let's look at this one. Another sampled crayon study. So interesting, right? So it's kind of a fun place, maybe like there is, it's getting more and more easy to justify, like there's a place for 30-cent mints. One could argue if it's just kind of like, as they originally advertised, just put your sketches. This was quite nice by Barabin. Is it Ilia Barabin, right? This was a beautiful image, 50 minted, only 12 minutes left. So again, you have to wonder, would this do better on Object? I think it probably would, because here it's like maybe get $10. I think on Object, you sell this as a one-of-one digital piece. I think you'd probably get like $30-40 for sure. I would think. I don't know. Really cool work. Positive guys, Barabin. Love it. Love it. Recollapse. So we have almost like a cycling through seasons here. Need to speed up a little bit. So Recollapse, another GIF painting, and I think all digital. This is kind of like you see it's related to seasons. From season to season, each one indirectly holds its own meaning. So I believe this is spring, edition of 1, and this was sent to a vault. And here is an edition of 1, and this was sent to a vault. And this is summer. So pretty cool kind of work here. Kind of I was going to say looks like a beach, but not quite. A waterfront of some kind. Here's a beach, Autumn Eye. And so cool kind of spring, summer, fall, or autumn, and winter. This edition of 1 and sent to the generic vault. And you see these kind of textures over here in the work. So interesting combination of digital painting and GIF animation here. I love actually these skiers going down the slope there. Very cool, kind of surreal. Kappa Sage with a cool work. The devil always comes from within. So another intense work from Kappa Sage. And just very cool. All these bodies and everything. Edgy and cool, and look at that, 2 faces. Almost kind of looking like a Aleister Crowley kind of scene of some kind. 0 edition, so burned. So maybe there's a new version. Here is Rosaceo, Nightmare Fuel Delivery. This is also 224 minted. Nice work. This is also on Rodeo. So cool work here. And here, Evelyn O GM. And this looks like Evelyn O was playing with these kind of abstracts, but looks like is introducing figurative elements and even looks like collage. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, but I find it interesting and pretty cool. Let's continue. Mumble Boy, #1 holiday destination for amoebas. Cool title, and it looks like introducing, at least from what I've seen, a kind of a new element here with this kind of sampled, what looks like kind of a cool sampled brush of some kind, or maybe out of a box, out of a painting tool, not sure. Beautiful work, edition of 2, 9 Tezos. And here is Nov 1914 Iman with works on Rodeo. So here is 1. And again, need to speed up a little bit here. Here is another, Neve 2. Interesting, almost as if it's like half opacity. You see how radically experimental Nov 1914 is. Very prolific artist. Nice contrast here between the mark making and the pixelation. Like novel visual experiences. We all have to be grateful to Nov 1914 for all of the new ways of thinking about these kind of digital mark making that Nov has provided for us. Interesting crop here. The negative space there. Very interesting. That is on Object, this one, and this sold for a mere 15 Tezos on Object. Here's Dan Control. Love this one. Retro phones on gray. Very cool work. And there's Sui Soichi. Let's take a quick look at Sui Soichi. Nice horizontal pixels there. Nice work from Sui Soichi. Let's continue. Mech.txt. Very interesting coloring going on here, isn't there? Very, very interesting coloring. Love the border here too. We got the 2x1 pixel border. Interesting, contrasting with almost like a 2x1 pixel, like a 1x2. See, this is like a vertical pixel, but these are like horizontal pixels. Nice work from Mech, really original. Doing quite well here. Here, this is, I believe, Pixel Fool. Interesting works from Pixel Fool. I'm not sure if these are generative or if they are how they are made, but they're interesting. Very interesting artist. Here's Dan P14, so more, abstract pixel art. Interesting. Interesting. And again, it would be interesting to see these as physicals as well. Continuing on, Datura Explorations. So kind of a different kind of work here from Datura, black and white, and just a kind of interesting animation as things kind of grow. Another black and white. This was reposted by Sabato. I don't know the name of the artist. It's in Japanese here. 6HPM PLP6. Give them a follow. Pretty cool work here, right? Just interesting is this kind of eternal hallway. Here's Louis Osborne. Got to speed up Sending My Love. So this, I believe, is new 725 minted. That is impressive. That just, I think, finished. Very cool. So there they are on Rodeo, $474 so far. Again, it does make, at the same time, I say, oh, you could do that on Object, but if all the collectors are on Rodeo for the time being, maybe that's what's going on here too. The artists are going where the collectors are. Or where as I was said in the other show, they're following the liquidity. Here's just a few others that were released in the last few weeks. A couple of weeks ago, Merry Christmas, beautiful work here. From Louis Osborne. Turn the bass up, 433. So interesting, buy high, sell low. This is the first Rodeo, 625. So pretty cool. Here is Jake Studios as we almost finish the show. Rainbow After Rainbow. Another new work here from Jake Studios. There's something very rich. I don't know if Jake's introducing like texture of some kind here, but it really is kind of creating a interesting kind of preciousness to the work, and kind of this Jake Studios figure guy almost meditating in green sludge water with a dripping surveillance camera. Interesting. And the iconic upside down clouds there, pixelated upside down clouds. Here's Polygon 1993. Quite an interesting work with a Jesus with a crucifixion, Jesus crucifixion with the legs missing. Kind of pink. Interesting. Here's Inavare. Interesting work. This is on remotecontrol.props.app. Very nice textured work. It looks like maybe something you'd put on a shelf or the table. Maybe a porcelain, goose or duck or something. Swan, signal swan. So interesting work there. And continue Ex Mortal. Some beautiful pink in the sky here. Another beautiful coast. Never get tired of these. Look at that. 6,330 views, 76 retweets. Nice work. We have another one by Xmortal Ebb. This is for 0.069 on Foundation. And we'll see if that loads up. We'll go to the next one and we'll come back. Crossed by DJ KIRO. So nice work here, kind of a video painting, a little bit more movement in this one. And if we go back, and there's Xmortal. So cool, kind of darker, moodier work with a lot of texture. And there is Walk with Duck edition of 1. Beautiful work here. Sprayed digital artwork from Walk, beautifully executed. This is at auction, now currently only 5 Tezos. Here is, I don't know if we looked at this work by Salawaki. This cool, but this was sent to all of her collectors and friends, I think. And so just a nice year-end Trouts After All. Happy New Year and Christmas gift to everyone who has collected, laughed, and loved with Salawaki. Thank you, Salawaki. 1,000. 1,100 done. And in the AI, we have yoyoin with some really cool work. 767 mints. AI. So very nice. What is that? 140 bucks, 430 mints. Fisher's number 2. Great series here. And finally, Fisher's number 3. So yoyoin doing fabulously here. Let's just quickly look before we $318 for 3 works. It's pretty good, right? I mean, if you're getting $100 for your work, that's pretty good. And especially when it's going for 30 cents a pop or whatever it is. Marina Amadova, The Road to Nowhere. We'll just open this up quickly, and a low mint. So if you're looking for a good deal, here's Marina Amadova, beautiful brushwork there in the background. And that is your show, my friends. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, take care.